Hi, everybody. This is Todd Martin, Tournament Director of Dell Technologies Hall of Fame Open. It's a pleasure to talk to you tonight. I am coming to you from our marketing manager's cubicle. Couldn't get my computer to do this. I'm not sure if his is working properly either, but we're going to have fun with this, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 2017 version of the Dell Technologies Hall of Fame Open and the player field that we're excited to be welcoming to Newport. First of all, the dates of the tournament are July 16 through July 23. That is the Sunday of the Wimbledon final, which is also the first round of qualifying here at our tournament. Through the Sunday of our finals and our PowerShares event on our PowerShares Legends Newport event on the final Sunday, July 23. Dell Technologies is a new title sponsor for us in 2017 and a great addition to our offering. The most important thing for us is that Dell Technologies is leading us through way of donation into a digitization of our entire museum collection. This is an amazing effort and that our museum team has taken on, and it will take several years, and it will be ongoing as we continue to collect objects long into the future. But none of this would be possible without Dell Technologies and their in-kind sponsorship of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, as well as their sponsorship of the Dell Technologies Hall of Fame Open. We have an incredibly exciting field coming to Newport this summer, led by former champions, two-time champions Rajiv Ram and John Isner, both American veterans. Isner is ranked just outside of the top 20 at this moment, leading into Wimbledon, and Rajiv Ram is a wild card entry this year. He won the tournament just 2 years ago, and his ranking went from about 160 to 80 in the world at that time. And the way he plays on grass, and especially here in Newport, you never know what will happen this year. Also back, defending champion Evgeny Karlovich and defending finalist Gilles Muller. Gilles Muller is one of the hottest players on tour this year. For the first time, he's in the top 30. Just won his second tour event of his career and of 2017. He's 35 years old now and won a tournament in Rosmalen or Hertogenbusch, and then just made it to the semifinals at Queen's Club, losing to Marin Cilic in the semifinals. Also, Sam Querrey is back after a couple of years playing Davis Cup during this same week. We'll be excited to have another top 25 player in Sam coming back. He's a fan favorite as well. Misha Zverev. So Alexander or Sasha Zverev is in the top 10 in the world. The young German is one of the best new talents on the ATP World Tour. His older brother, much older brother actually, Misha, has been on tour for about 10 years and has never done that well, but is now in the top 30 in the world after having a tremendous last year and a half. Misha comes to us with a great left-handed serve. He's a serve and volley game, a bit of a throwback, a perfect fit for our grass courts here in Newport, and I'm confident he'll like it on our grass courts. Also, a couple other veterans and former top 10 players, Jürgen Melzer of Austria and Marcos Baghdatis of Cyprus, both former number 8s in the world. Melzer's been coming back from injury and is almost back into the top 100 and is doing better and better. And Marcos Baghdatis has been a staple in the top 50 for years and has just crept outside of the top 50 recently. Also, really important to note, we have some young talent coming As many of you know, the American youth in the men's game are really making an impact on the world stage. The next generation campaign by the ATP World Tour is littered with young Americans, and we've got several of them coming to see us in July, led by Taylor Fritz, who made it to the finals of the Memphis Open in 2016. Also, Michael Moe is a wild card entry. Riley Opelka is a former Wimbledon junior champion, and he is also in the main draw via a wild card entry. Both Moe and Opelka are in the top 200 in the world, and have continued to improve through the last couple of years on tour. Stefan Kozlov, who just had a great result in London at Queen's Club, actually beat Steve Johnson, a top 25 player, in 3 sets, the second 2 being 6-1, 6-1. Stefan is likely to gain entry into the main draw, but at the very least will be here to play the qualifying event. There's another young Australian player named Jordan Thompson, and Jordan is an Australian who helped upset the U.S. in the first round of the Davis Cup by beating John Isner down in Australia, and then just last week in London at Queen's Club, Jordan Thompson beat world number 1 Andy Murray in the first round of Queens. So a really quality young talent. He's being mentored by Leighton Hewitt, which is a great leader, great former world number 1 and Davis Cup captain of Australia, to have providing some guidance and counsel to a young talent like Jordan Thompson. Also, another American that I skipped earlier is Ernesto Escobedo. Ernesto is I think the second highest ranked American teenager. This young man from Los Angeles has taken the yeoman's way to becoming an elite tennis player, and his family is a great story of perseverance and commitment to giving their son every opportunity that they could to allow him to chase his dream. So all interesting people to have come and play our tournament. Got a great mix of veterans, a great crew of young players aspiring to build Hall of Fame careers, and someday come back here and be honored with the greatest and ultimate honor in our sport, induction into the Hall of Fame. On that note, PowerShares Legends Newport will be our Sunday special event. It brings back Hall of Famer Jim Courier, U.S. Davis Cup captain, also American legends Marty Fish and James Blake, and the three of them will be doing battle with soon-to-be Hall of Fame inductee Andy Roddick. That will all happen on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, right before our singles final for the Dell Technologies Hall of Fame Open. The induction weekend, Rolex Hall of Fame enshrinement weekend, we are inducting 5 individuals this year into the Hall of Fame. Contributors, Vic Braden will be inducted posthumously. Vic was a forerunner in sports psychology and sports science. I grew up watching him with his numerous lessons on a show that he used to produce on ESPN called Vic's Vacant Lot, and it was an introduction to how to play, how to make a lot of different games out of your backyard, and it's something that's lost in this day and age, but amazing athletic lessons that Vic taught on a multitude of different platforms. His video archives are as significant as just about any humans in the world, and he has done an incredible amount of analysis over the years. So excited to welcome Vic's family and honor Vic, albeit after his passing. Also being inducted as a contributor is Steve Flink, legendary journalist and historian and one-time protege of Bud Collins. Steve is still very active in the tennis world, working for tennischannel.com, and actually does a good bit of work for us at the Hall of Fame in some of the writing that we have need for over the course of every 12 months. Monique Kalkman, an amazing Paralympian and world champion in wheelchair tennis, will be an inductee this year as well. Monique is from Holland and is actually now a competitive golfer, and before taking up wheelchair tennis was a world champion wheelchair table tennis player, an amazing athlete, and frankly a more special woman, very interesting and very in touch and down to earth with all that she's faced and all that she's accomplished in the face of adversity. Finally, we are inducting two players, recent players, and those are Kim Clijsters of Belgium, former world number one on the WTA, and Andy Roddick, world number one on the ATP. The American is the last American male to win a Grand Slam singles title in 2003 at the U.S. Open. We have a lot of special guests coming back for Hall of Fame weekend. Jennifer Capriati, Chris Evert, Jim Courier, as I already mentioned, and a whole host of others will be here to welcome new members of the Hall of Fame family. I hope you'll be able to join us because it is going to be a spectacular weekend. Other events that I want to make sure everybody knows about. The Alex and Ani fashion show, which happens on Thursday morning, will be taking place on the Horseshoe Court. Among the models that will be flashing goods from Fila, from Brooks Brothers, and from Alex and Ani are soon-to-be Hall of Famer Kim Clijsters and the 7-foot-tall American John Isner. Both courtesy of our partners at Fila. We are likely to have some significant celebrities on campus during the weekend, and also I want to make sure that everybody understands that this year we have new additions like a Tesla test drive. We have a new and improved fan zone, and a Heineken beer garden with our new sponsors from Heineken. And finally, our food offerings, our food and beverage offerings are changing this year. We are now, instead of having a courtside cafe, we will have a Champions Club, which is a gourmet elaborate buffet with open bar, and that is available from Monday, July 17 through Sunday, July 23. You'll be, if you haven't received information already, you will be, and tickets for Champions Club will be available via pre-sale until July 5. Can't wait to see you all while we have all the talent and the tennis world focused on the International Tennis Hall of Fame here in Newport, Rhode Island. And I would be pleased to hear your questions for today, but more importantly, when you're here enjoying the tennis, please stop me. I'm not hard to find. I'm the 6'6" guy dressed in too warm clothes and primarily balding. So if you can't find me, it's because John Isner is standing in front of me. Please, if you have any questions, shoot them my way. I'll give you a few minutes, and otherwise, I will trust that everything is good and you're all excited about the Dell Technologies Hall of Fame Open, the Rolex Hall of Fame Enshrinement Weekend, and the PowerShares Legends Newport. Okay, there's still 9 watching. Nobody's asking questions though.
Who's going to win Wimbledon, Todd?
Who's going to win Wimbledon? On the women's side, I actually wonder if Muguruza might not do awfully well. I think it's going to be an interesting event on the women's side without having Serena there. Venus Williams also has a great chance. She loves the grass. She's by far the most comfortable moving forward, and in the women's game, that is still absolutely critical on the grass. On the men's side, the other, Pliskova also. I wonder if she's the best server on the tour, and I wonder if that's not somebody that will be around late in the tournament. Certainly her result in Paris was a surprise, and on the clay, because that's for sure her worst surface. On the men's side, I'm picking Andy Murray. It's going against the grain, considering the fact that he lost his one grass court match to date and has had a tough year in 2017. However, I did like what I saw out of him on the clay in Paris. I think he'll be energized and inspired by being back on center court at Wimbledon, and I generally believe that he is as balanced of a player on the grass. He returns serve beautifully. He serves well, but it's a little streaky, and his second serve is a bit vulnerable. So I think that's the one issue for him. But the thing that I like the most about Andy is the fact that he plays to make others uncomfortable, and that is a trait that has and will continue to benefit him well on the grass at Wimbledon. We have another question. Where will the buffet be? Where the courtside cafe used to be? Yes. So on the first floor of the east porch, which is is basically right up against the Hartrue Court and next to the theater and the court tennis building on the end of the front lawn courts. So the buffet will be there. It's best if you purchase your Champions Club membership beforehand, but we will also be offering those tickets on property during the tournament. So I'm going to ask myself a question. With all the young Americans who are doing well and those who are coming here, who do I think is going to be the one to watch the most moving forward? And at this point in time, I actually think Riley Opelka is the guy. He's in some ways the slowest developing out of the group, but Riley is 6'11" and is still, I think, growing. He's got an amazing serve, and if you equate him to John Isner or compare him to John Isner, his serve is just as good. His second serve might be even better, which is incredible because John's got the best second serve on tour historically. I think he returns serve better than John, and also his backhand is much more stable than John's. So I think it'll be an interesting person to watch develop. He's going to have to figure out how to stay healthy. He trains hard, and sometimes I think probably a little too hard considering his large frame. It's an awful lot of mass to carry around on punishing hard courts and playing in a sport that still has an emphasis on getting low. All right, Marilyn asks, is there or when will there be a list of the players in the qualifying rounds? Well, why don't I go through the qualifiers who have just been announced actually today, and that is, it's actually a really good group. From Switzerland, Marco Chiudinelli. From America, Bjorn Fratangelo. And frankly, Bjorn is the first alternate for the main draw, so I suspect he will be in our main draw by the time July 17 comes around. Sam Groth from Australia, fan favorite here. Stefan Kozlov, who also will likely be in the main draw. Mitchell Kruger, who was number one in the country in the U.S. probably about 4 or 5 years ago, has started to do better and better. He's in the top 200 now, still a young buck and a lot of potential. A wonderful kid and a lifelong tennis guy. I know his dad and I think his mom as well have both been lifelong lines judge umpire types. Denis Kudla, another relatively young American. He's been around for a little while, but he's younger than people think. He is probably 24 or thereabouts, is Jack Sock's age. Denis Novikov, who also has been doing well. Akira Santillan, who is he has split his time between Japan and Australia. It identifies as being Japanese, and is a young fella that is receiving a lot of attention in the Far East and in the Southern Hemisphere. And then finally, Tim Smichek. And Tim is a Wisconsin boy. I'm from Michigan originally. Tim is the last man standing of his, let's say, of his high school class or his junior tennis age group. An amazing guy. Fought against odds. He was always the guy looking up at the rest of the gang, and then far exceeded most of them. He is a quality Midwestern guy, and is a real example of how to play the game, both in the style that he plays with, but more importantly, the sportsmanship and character that he demonstrates on the court. The last guy that will be in our qualifying for sure, will be John Patrick Smith from Australia. John Patrick, known as JP, played at the University of Tennessee and I believe still lives in Knoxville. And he has done well. In fact, his best result on the ATP World Tour was here 2 years ago at the Dell Technologies Hall of Fame Open, and when he made it to the semifinals. Good left-handed serve, really unconventional style of play, and somebody that on these grass courts can cause just about anybody to feel uncomfortable. Let's see. One of the questions our staff had was, why do I think Evgeny Karlovich does so well here? Well, in one way, it's maybe a little surprising because our grass courts here are a little bit lower bouncing than the grass courts over in Europe. However, that makes returning serve much more difficult, and Evo already possesses one of the best serves in the game. I played him once on tour before I retired, and it's in spite of playing Pete Sampras 22 times throughout my career, I felt like Evo served better than anybody I ever played against. And he does like to come to the net. He's relentless, and these grass courts here, because they don't bounce as high, really do put a premium on getting to the net, hitting slice backhands, keeping the ball low, and trying to put pressure and impose yourself upon your opponents. The fact that the ball stays lower doesn't give or gives the opponent less time, which ends up putting them in a position to be less accurate with their passing shots. And Evo at 6'11", I would say, covers the net better than most tall guys. He extends well. He's got quick reflexes, and I think he's just really comfortable. When I talk to him about coming back to Newport every year, he gives me his pledge that he'll be back the moment his last match is finished the year before. He loves it here, loves the community, and certainly when you're happy off court as a player, it influences and increases your ability to play well on the court. Also, and unfortunately, I couldn't attract Francis Tiafoe to play in Newport this year, but I do want to make sure that you all take an opportunity. If you have HBO, watch Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel this month. It's probably showing a couple more times before the end of the month. Francis Tiafoe has an amazing life story, and it's told very well by Mary Carrillo on that show. And I think it'll tell you, one, a lot about Francis, and give you a lot of hope about American tennis moving forward. But it also should inform you about those players who are coming here to play the tournament, especially from the U.S., because they're right there with Francis in their development, and they're the same age. And guys like Ernesto Escobedo and Stefan Kozlov and Riley Opelka, Michael Moe, Taylor Fritz. We've got a really exciting group to watch moving forward, and I'm sure you'll see them for years to come, both here in Newport and on your television set. Thank you, everybody, and hope everybody has a good night. And please come see us in a couple of weeks. Can't wait to see you. Thanks.